Doug spoke at the very first NoCo Hemp Expo back in 2014 when he released a book called Hemp Bound, which has been very instrumental in this new hemp movement. Very inspirational to me and thousands of other people across this country and across this planet. So we all owe a debt of gratitude to Doug for being the investigative journalist that he is. He's also a goat farmer in New Mexico, which is going to be on hiatus while he grows hemp, I think. But anyway, without further ado, we want to bring up...
Book out in January.
Oh yeah, Doug's got a new book coming out. He's also working on a television show that's going to come out here at some point in time. He's been gathering content for the last couple years. It's a lot of really, really cool content. So let's give a big warm welcome for Doug Fine.
Thank you, everybody. I am a goat rancher and a homeschooling father and a farmer in southern New Mexico. And these people that are on the stage here, plus Wild Bill here in the front row, one of the key sponsors today, are doing as much for hemp as anybody on this planet. I'm going to talk to you about what I've learned from actually being a farmer, hemp farmer in the ground, but also as a journalist who's probably seen more hemp farms in the last 5 years than maybe anybody else. How many people here are farmers? Okay. How many people here are first-time hemp farmers this year? And how many people are not yet hemp farmers but want to be hemp farmers? Okay, great. That's all very, very good to know. So here's the first message that I have for everybody here today, okay? This time around, the farmers are in charge. This is what I mean by this, okay? If you are a professional farmer, or someone you love is a professional farmer, you know that since serfdom ended, for the most part, many farmers do well, but for the most part, farmers are screwed, get screwed by the middleman at the wholesale level, right? That's the reality of it. Farmers, for the most part, are struggling. That's changing now. We should be thanking the prohibitionists, the hemp prohibitionists, for keeping us waiting so long to get this crop back in the ground, because we have an opportunity to do it our way. Now, there's a very famous farmer, advocate, author, and philosopher from Kentucky named Wendell Berry. He's 84 years old. And Morris, who's just up here, runs a great event. He asked me to find who would I think would be a great sort of Southern speaker at the first Southern Hemp Expo in Nashville. The second one, by the way, is coming up in September. And I'll be there as well, most of the speakers today. And I thought about it and I said, Wendell Berry, he's from Kentucky, right next door. He's a great speaker. And he said, okay, can you get him? So I called this foundation, and in order to reach Wendell Berry, you have to write to him at P.O. Box 1 in his town. There's no texting or even email, let alone Instagramming Wendell Berry. He's 84. So needless to say, I wrote him a letter on hemp paper. Why wouldn't I write him on hemp paper? And invited him to the conference, and I left my phone number, and he called me back, and if anybody wants to hear this, I've saved it on my phone. He called me back and left a message. And this is what he said. I'm paraphrasing, this isn't an exact quote, you can listen to it. He said, when my grandparents were involved in starting the original tobacco cooperatives in Kentucky in the 1800s. They didn't do it because they liked the extra hard work of controlling their process and their products and their prices. They did it because they were getting screwed by middlemen and they weren't making a living. Hemp farmers are in danger of the same thing happening. It's a gold rush. Everybody's producing as much as they can, and they think that current wholesale gold rush markets are going to last forever. They are not. If you are a slave to the vicissitudes of a wholesale market, you're setting yourself up for failure. To set yourself up for success, here's the good news. All you gotta do is be in control of your product, okay? That's the first thing that I want you guys to know today, is that this time the farmers are in charge. It's about 20 times more risky than just harvesting some flour from clones you got somewhere and sending it off to a processor. Yeah, you could make a living on a couple of years like this, but if you're trying to make a living for a couple generations, you're gonna have to create a product and work hard to get it out there to people. That is a simple fact of the matter. Farmers are in charge. Second message today. Many people know this. It's in everything we needed to know we learned in kindergarten, fact. But what is happening in especially the 6 inches below your ground and what you do for the year before you start planting this crop is by far the most important decision that's going to happen in your hemp crop. We've, as farmers, many of us for this last century, listened to the salespeople. It made life temporarily easier to say, hey, all we gotta do is spray some carcinogens, some toxic shit all over the ground that kills everything except for our plant, our GMO soy or whatever, and then sell that for crappy prices and make a marginal living and stay in constant debt. Let's remember, folks, there's no such thing as dentist aid or lawyer aid. There's farm aid. It's because farmers are struggling. Independent farmers are struggling, and this time we're in charge, and the secret is build your soil. We could talk more a lot about it. My next book, it's coming out in January, is a real practical guide on this front. But if you decide that you are going to build that soil, you're going to have a competitively superior product. That's the fact. And organic prices, look it up, ask anyone, they're 15% higher at least than non-organic. So everybody out there who is still fighting some kind of culture war, who feels like organic is some kind of hippie thing. It doesn't matter whether or not you personally eat organic. I do, because glyphosate, Roundup, is a World Health Organization recognized as carcinogen, and I want my family to avoid cancer. If you want to grow organic just to make more money. That's my advice to you. So that's the those are the two preliminary things. Now, I know because I've just been editing with my publisher this chapter, 3 things I wished I wished I knew before I went into hemp personally. And I'm going to tell you what those 3 things are, and then we'll get on with the rest of the show today. So I'll end up with the 3 things I wished I knew before I leapt into hemp, okay? What I make is just so you know, a very small batch farm-to-table product. It's just who I am. You could do anything. I don't care if you're doing a toenail conditioner, a pet treat, something great out of fiber. Too much information alert, guys. Even my underwear is made out of hemp here. My sweetheart makes many of my clothes for me. I'd love to see people do stuff other than just CBD, because that's a gold rush. Who makes money in a gold rush? Is it the gold rushers? No, it's the people selling the shovels to the gold rushers. So if you're the farmer, I suggest sidestepping something other than the gold rush. But here are the 3 things I wish I knew before I got into hemp, okay? The first thing that I wish I knew before I got into hemp was you should prepare for a plan B. I don't know anybody in the hemp world who is 2 or 3 years into it who is doing exactly what they thought they were going to do in year 1. Salt Creek Market, are you doing exactly what you thought you were going to be doing in year 1? No. Nobody is doing what they thought they were doing in hemp in year 1. You've got to be prepared to pivot, and you've got to be prepared to budget for it. And I have had a partnership dissolve over the best farmer I ever worked with not getting this point. The more real and hardcore and traditional a farmer is, I find, the harder it is for them to understand these messages that I'm giving you now. Because farmers thought they had to deal with society. Once they pumped that crop from the combine into the silo, their work was done. They might not get paid that good, but they got paid something, and then they could, what used to be called mend a harness, right, for the winter. I think of it more of streaming movies and eating a lot of popcorn. But those days are over. Okay, so that's the first thing to know. Prepare for plan B. Here's the second thing to know. How many people here are involved in hemp but believe that they're part of the process of something other than the farm? In other words, I'm on the marketing side, I'm on the processing side, I'm on the packaging side, I'm on the delivery side, I'm on the mechanical side. Actually, you guys, your job is on the farm too, and many of you at an event like this recognize this already. You're not watching the crop every second like everybody else is, but what the hemp brand is associated with healthy products grown in the soil. So every step of the way, it's about the farm. Let's say that you're the director of marketing for a CBD company, and you're at a booth at a place like this today. When somebody comes up to you and says, can you tell me a little bit about the hemp in your products grown? I'm gonna give an example of a good answer, because I like to focus on the power. The good answer for a marketing director, a president of a company, a delivery driver, whatever it is, a social media expert, this is the best answer I can think of. Well, I actually am the social media director for I'm the traveling booth manager for our live events, but I am on the farm in Nebraska at least once a week. Look, my fingernails are dirty. Look, I've got work gloves with me. That's what your marketing director should say. If you are in the hemp industry and you are not interested in getting your hands dirty and getting swarmed by bugs in a soil, you might want to pick another industry. Or let's put it this way, you're not going to have a competitive advantage because the customers want farmer-produced product. It's what Michael Pollan, the author, calls supermarket pastoral. When you go to a crunchy supermarket and you look at the label on the eggs and it makes you think that the chickens are getting massages and they're giving them walks and, pedicures, that's what the customer wants for hemp everywhere. If you are buying fungible CBD from Ukraine or God knows where and pumping it into your bottle, you're going to lose in the long run. You're going to win in the long run if you are the farmer and everyone in your organization gets to the farm every week. So, prepare for plan B. Be on the farm at least once a week, no matter who you are, including president of the company. And here's the third thing. Your work is not done on harvest. The great Dolly Parton was asked how she she was someone who didn't have enough food to eat for the first 18 years of her life. Dolly Parton's asked, what is the best thing you can do to succeed in this dog-eat-dog world? And she said, just picture a little bit more voluptuous. She said, honey, you gotta be first, better, or different. Well, if you're in on the CBD gold rush, and we all want to make a living, you're not first. You gotta be better, you gotta be different. I'm not saying completely ignore the wholesale market. There's a lot of, Salt Creek is a great example. These are people that hedge and will sell you a clone, they'll sell you crude. You know what I mean by, anybody not know what I mean by crude? Anybody show hands? Okay, crude is when you go through the first step of processing with hemp flower. If that's your market, the flower side, let's say in an alcohol processing, it's cold ethanol, there's some demos here today. You end up with, let's say, a very high, you end up with they call it crude, it's generally a brown, sticky, lovely substance. I actually eat crude every day. That's like a CBD, let's call it 50 to 70%, and a THC, depending on what you've grown, a 3 to 7%, right? That then gets refined by other people down into their product. If you're white labeling, you're selling it wholesale. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying don't rely on it. If you are an independent farmer, somebody else is going to be in the Walgreens and the Costco's. Forget that. If you're growing 10 to 20 acres, you've got to tell your story in a way that is better or different. I believe that what I do with my product is better because it's 100% farm to table. We infuse in seed oil. Most people do olive oil, coconut oil, it's great. We infuse in seed oil, always have, that we grow. And the flour, we grow. And we process by a process called decarboxylation. It's slow and small batch. Most people want fast and large batch. So we think we're better. Everybody should think their product's better. You should think your product's better. You should think your product. So do not rely on the wholesale market. Create something that is better and different and tell your story. Your story should be glaring on the label. You know what the label is? You can see it during my book. The label on my product is a real image of my real goat named Natalie Merchant eating my cowboy hat off my head while I'm trying to meditate. That's my life and that's my product. And if you want to succeed, your product should represent your life and your product as well. God bless you all and have a good time here today. Thank you very much. Thanks to Salt Creek Hemp, Colorado Hemp Project, Colorado Hemp Company, the great people at Wildflower. I'm going to be right back there signing books for an hour right now at the Colorado Hemp tent right back there. Thank you.